was hearing a story about some gentlemen that were career thieves. So you think like Ocean's 11, I don't know. Like, what's the most luxurious version of a thief, right? There's a little bit of alluring, there's something alluring about, being a career thief, right? If you get away with it. For example, people who can steal money really well online often end up getting recruited and forgiven for doing so if they help in preventing that in the future. Well, point of this post is just to tell a quick story. It's a reiteration, an echo chamber of a scary story I just heard, but nonetheless, there's a lesson in it that I believe there's a good takeaway, and it's about two police officers who are responding to a car of three people armed and dangerous with masked men, career thieves. They were stealing a quad bike. They had it roped, hooked onto the handlebars, flying down this specific street. Well, the two police officers had parked, and they're waiting as the criminals speed towards them, but they're blocking the way, sort of. So as the criminals come to a halt, they all lock eye contact and flip on the lights. One police officer gets out of the car, and then one suspect gets out of their car. And the suspect got out and took the rope off the handlebars. Well, the police officer apprehended the suspect on foot. As this all happens, gray car, suspect's car, speeds off. One police officer on foot chasing him, and then the other police officer is now going backwards, in pursuit backwards for the guy not in the car. The way they had roped this quad was just a traditional lasso, type deal. Tightens, it's just, imagine something that could grab, tighten as it, has pressure. So maybe a slip knot or something. I'm not sure what it would be called. Maybe a slip knot. But rock on slip knot. But rest in peace to the officer, because the officer in pursuit on foot was chasing this man, and the criminal managed to jump into the back window, and as the criminal got into the window, they were then good to, make our getaway now. We've let the stolen property get off of the car, right? Police officer's not within, an area where he can get into the car, but the guy who got out of the car is now jumped back into the window. So, just on some awful chance, the police officer's feet were inside of that hole of the rope at the exact right moment when that car sped off. And they ended up dragging the officer for, I want to say, 91 seconds for about a mile. By the time another police officer had started to chase the car, they had one other one stick behind, because, this officer didn't know what happened to his teammate. He had no idea. He didn't see him get roped. He just saw him vanish with, he's going backwards, so just a glimpse of an eye, the rope could have teared like that. It actually went off into a ditch and then up, so I could see how that could happen, it pulls him through the ditch or something. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but I know the moral of the story to me, and I think the takeaway for anybody who has a heart, is that because you can't afford a quad bike, or because you can't afford to take care of your family or yourself, you want to mask up with men, be armed and dangerous, and drag a police officer for 90 seconds in the pavement. By the time the other police officer so one had continued pursuit, and the other one who was not the partner, ended up seeing this police officer's, sorry, I don't like the terminology cop. I think it's disrespectful. But the police officer's body, just thrown into traffic as the car turned. And they said they thought it was a deer carcass because it was so messed up, banging against trees and just whatever you can imagine. He was in bad shape, and it's no doubt that he didn't survive. Like, rest in peace to that officer for serving his country and for serving his people. But it just brings me back to this parallel of, I'm so sick of people stealing, and I'm just the one who's saying it because I've experienced a punishment for doing so. And I was nonviolent, and I was pathetic in how I did it, because I never wanted to be a career criminal. I never wanted to be a career thief. And I think that might be, Ocean's 11, and what's that movie with 50 Cent where they're robbing some rich people? I don't remember. But it was a good movie, right? So there's the Robin Hood aspect comes to mind, even with El Chapo in Mexico, right? Like, in that culture, they idolize El Chapo. But then in this culture, depending on which circle you're talking in, there's no idolization of crime like that, unless it's 100% Robin Hood. And I mean, let's be honest, career thieves are not interested in being Robin Hood, I would say majority of the time. Majority of the time, career thieves, I would bet, are much more interested in self-interest and maybe a little bit family, I would hope. But it just breaks my heart, and that's a common theme with just life, and love. That man loved his job. He loved trying to make right of things, and he paid for it, and that's not fair. But life's not fair, and it doesn't make it okay. It's not okay. And that's the point of this video, is that I want people to start internalizing what being a career thief actually is. It's a nasty thing. I don't care if it's from corporations. I don't care if it's from your own mama. I do care, but I'm just saying, making a habit out of stealing is so dumb. And in other countries, you lose your hand. Here, you get punished, and maybe some places are more lenient on it, but it doesn't mean it should be that way. So I want to encourage anybody who has problems with kleptomaniac, type stuff. I get it. There was a point in time in my life when, and this sounds really weird, there's a point in time in my life when I couldn't walk by cars without feeling some sort of guilt and also intrigue. Because I liked car hopping at a certain point. I was a loser. And I didn't want to make a career of it. I wanted to be a loser at that point in my life. It was apparent to me that was it's a long time ago, but that was my choice back then. I want to lose. So, if you want to lose, be a criminal. And if you want to win, support your police. It's as simple as that. Yeah, there's police that are corrupt. Criminals are, by definition, corruption. Because criminals are against all we stand for. So when I say I don't like criminals, it's not that I don't like people getting ahead of me. It's not a jealousy thing when it comes to criminals. I don't care how rich you are if you're a criminal. I don't care who you are if you're a criminal. You're wrong. And the fact that I even feel like I have to post this online, it's not okay. I don't want people to feel shame, but I do want people to correct their actions. My own brother is so lost in that life of I'm not ready, and well, who is it? It's not society's fault that you want to get high every day, or like it's not society's fault that you didn't make good on, your life. I'm dying for credit most of the time in my life, dying to get approval, but I'm not gonna sacrifice my honor to the people who serve, because the people who serve are better than you. If you're a career criminal, just hands down, like, and that's not even just a if right there. I mean, it's not a right attitude to say better than you. That's another thing, is that I'm trying to change my the way I look at it, but I just I don't know, man. That story, my dad was a police officer, and he could have died in duty, several times. I've never been in that position, but I fear for people and respect for people, like respective fear for the people who do that, and yeah, that story makes me want to fund the police. So hopefully you feel the same, but we should definitely, in the reformation of everything, we should definitely keep our eyes on the career criminal encouragement. Because if you're creating career criminals, you're creating entire cultures based off of crime. That's a problem. So, the sooner we can get some divisiveness between the differentials, you really can't have a culture without racism and violence and theft unless everybody's on the same page. And it's never going to be perfect, but it should always be strive to, do better. We should always strive to do better every day. So, that tale is shout out to Mr. Ballen. That's him again, always making you think. Alright.